Supercell just released their work in progress balance changes for the upcoming season of Clash Royale, which starts in less than 10 days. And just a friendly reminder that these are not the final balance changes, these are work in progress balance changes, which means they might change a little bit over the next few days. But I will post an update video once the changes have been made final. Alright, let's start off with every card that is receiving a nerf. First on this list is going to be the Dark Goblin, which is going to see its overall damage decrease by 5%. So the damage that is dealt over time will be way less than it currently is, and these changes will apply to the normal Dark Goblin and the Evo Dark Goblin as well. And in my opinion, I feel like this is a pretty fair change. Next on this list, the Goblinstein is getting nerfed yet again. The monster's hit points are being reduced by 6%. So this is the second time that we are seeing the monster's hit points being reduced because they did this last season too. And honestly, this is nice, but I feel like it doesn't really address the main problem, which I feel like is that the ability does way too much damage, not that the monster is too healthy. The next card on this list that is receiving a nerf is the Lava Hound. The only change that is being made to the damage is that the damage dealt by the larger Lava Hound and the smaller Lava Pups are being decreased by 7%. And honestly, Lava Hound wasn't on my list of cards that I felt like needed a nerf. I felt like some of the support cards were a little more troublesome, but interesting change. And coming as a surprise to no one, the Rune Giant is getting nerfed next season. By far, the biggest problem that they needed to address with this card was cards that do multiple projectile damage, like the Firecracker and the Hunter. And if these balance changes go through, these multiple projectile cards will see the damage divided amongst the projectiles instead of seeing it applied to each individual projectile. And I don't know why they didn't think of this before they emergency buffed this card, but it is still a W update. They're also taking it a step further and nerfing secondary troops. So for cards like the Goblin Giant that have the Spear Goblins on its back or the Ram Rider, these secondary troops will not receive the damage buffs. And just to reiterate, these changes were much needed. Massive nerfs are coming for the Royal Chef Tower, and they're doing a lot here, so just bear with me. First is that the cook frequency is being reduced by 25%. Basically, all that means is the number of troops that it can level up over time is decreased by 15%. So in theory, there will be less cards that are getting leveled up over the course of the match. Next, the actual hit speed of the tower is getting nerfed as well. So instead of throwing one projectile every 0.9 seconds, it is throwing one every full second. That is a nerf to the speed by 11%. Also a completely new mechanic, but the cook speed is reduced when the tower is destroyed. So if you lose one of the chef towers, your cook speed is going to drop dramatically, which I always kind of assumed was a thing, but apparently not. And the last change they're making to the Royal Chef Tower is to the HP buff threshold, which is going from 20% to 33%. And the final card that is getting nerfed is the Evolved Goblin Giant. The only change that they're making is to the spawn frequency of the goblins that spawn in the second half of the life of the Evolved Goblin Giant. And they are nerfing the speed of the goblin spawn rate by 17%. So every time your opponent goes in for the Evo Goblin Giant and rages it up, you're going to see a lot less goblins that are spawning on the ground. And those are all of the work in progress nerfs. Let's talk about the buffs that are coming our way. And there are a lot less buffs than there are nerfs, which is probably valid. I didn't see this coming, but the range of the Fire Spirit is being increased by 25%. So instead of the splash radius being 2 tiles, it is now going to be 2.5 tiles. I feel like I can think of a lot of cards that need a buff much more than Fire Spirit, but yay. The next buff is going to be for the Musketeer's first hit time speed. So the speed of that first shot is going to be increased by 25%. Or actually, it's getting decreased by 25%, but that's a good thing. The changes to the speed also apply to the evolved version of the Musketeer and the 3 Musketeers as well. Meaning that if your opponent goes for 3 Musketeers in the pocket, it's going to be coming at you much, much faster. And the final work in progress balance change coming to the worst evolution in the game, the Evo Snowball is getting a buff on the pushback distance from 4 tiles to 4.5 tiles. So that is a pushback buff of 13%. And I like that they're trying to improve this card because, like I said, it is the worst evolution in the game, but I don't know if adding a half tile of pushback is really going to make a difference. And that is all of the work in progress balance changes that are set to come our way in February of 2025. Here is a screenshot of everything in one. Shoutouts to Royale API for consolidating the information into a very nice image. And just a reminder, one last time, none of these balance changes are final, which means over the course of the next few days, these changes are going to be discussed and some of them might change. With that being said, let me know what cards you think they missed and what cards you think need a buff or a nerf or a rework in the comment section. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, and I really hope to see you in another video real soon. Peace out!